Hello, everybody. Father Scott Vanderveer here for another installment of our series on the season of creation in honor of our late Holy Father, Pope Francis. I'm coming to you today from the grass for a very important reason. It's because today I'd like to talk about how being near creation moves us to prayer. Even if we don't know how to pray, which many of us really struggle to know. It seems that I've heard from so many people something that was also true for me, which is I learned a lot about prayer growing up in a Catholic family. I learned prayers. I learned about praying at certain times. I learned about the importance of prayer. I learned about coming together at Mass and hearing the priest say, "Let us pray." But I didn't know how to pray on my own. Maybe you can relate to that feeling too. I didn't know how. No one taught me how to pray. And a lot of folks feel that way. So when we come in contact with nature, we realize that sometimes, even if we're lacking formal instruction on the how of praying, we can find ourselves moved to just fall into prayer because of how creation is. It's so beautiful and mysterious and big and amazing that it almost feels like the feeling we have at Mass when the priest says, "Oremus," let us pray. The thing about spirituality coming from our connection with nature is that sometimes many of us were told that the natural world was in opposition to our faith. We didn't think of it as being an expression of God. We perhaps instead thought of it as the territory that wasn't heaven. And so the earth was to be held with some suspicion because this is where sin happens. When we say things like the temptations of earth, or the person was dealing with earthly matters. When we talk about the earth in relationship with spirituality, it often feels like a contrast. Like we're not very holy when we're talking about earthly things. We humans focus on earthly matters and God focuses on heavenly. But our ancestors of this land, the Native American peoples, the First Nations here on this earth, this continent of earth, they had a very different view. And it's a view that can help all of us, I think. Maybe you've heard a famous phrase from Chief Seattle, who the great city of the Northwest is named after. Chief Seattle said, "The earth is not something we own." He said, "We don't own the earth. The earth doesn't belong to us. We belong to the earth." He said, "The earth is our mother. Our mother did not come from us. We come from our mother." Such a beautiful and simple thing. Going back to what I said in one of these earlier episodes, that one of the most basic things that our spirituality of creation teaches us is that God created everything and God owns everything. Nothing is ours. This earth is not ours. This earth is God's. God created the earth and God owns the earth. The earth doesn't belong to us. We belong to the earth. What an important reminder from Chief Seattle. I'm thinking as the sun shines on my face about another prayer that was offered by the mystical Persian poet Rumi long ago. He was a contemporary of some of the saints that we know well, like Francis of Assisi and Dominic, that era of history. He, however, did not live in Italy or in Spain, but in Persia. And you might be familiar with some of his poetry. everyone around the world considers it to be very, very bright with faith and spirituality. It is a mystical form of poetry. There's other poets like Rumi that have a similar quality. Rumi said something so simple and so beautiful that I'm thinking of as the sun shines on my face. Here's what he said. Even after all this time, the sun has never said to the earth, "You owe me." Look at what such love can do. It lights up the whole sky. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Do you remember in an earlier episode that we talked about the fact that the sun sheds 4 million tons of light energy every second and it'll never give it back? It'll never get back all of that energy that it's giving us. It's just pouring it out until it goes extinct, until it burns out like so many of the stars of the sky. And that is a gift that it gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. And even after all this time, Rumi reminds us, never has the sun said to the earth, "You owe me." Look at what a love like that can do. It lights up the whole sky. So creation can get us in a position to pray. It can force us to our knees because of the beauty, the sublime beauty of what creation is, what it represents, what it does, and what that tells us about its maker. Have you ever heard of the poet Mary Oliver? I bet you have. There's a good chance that you have. She was a famous poet, often thought of as a secular figure, but somebody who had an amazing ability to use words and phrases and images to help people understand life better. And she's the one who brought me to my belly in the grass today, because she has a poem that originally she just numbered, but is popularly called The Summer Day. The Summer Day by Mary Oliver is a reflection on what she saw in nature one summer day. Mary Oliver, who, like a lot of us, was never taught properly how to pray. Here is her poem, The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? What a great question. That's probably the line that caused you at the end to realize, even if you didn't think you recognized the poem, oh yes, that line. What is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? The life that God gave us, on a planet that God gave us, surrounded by the gifts of nature given to us by God, so generously, so beautifully, so incredibly. What a great thing for us to consider. So if any of these ways of praying helped you today, then maybe there's a chance for you to engage in this kind of practice on your own. Connecting with nature, whether it's at the ocean, at a mountain lake, in the forest, looking at the sky, or looking down at the ground with great interest, all of it is revelatory. All of it comes from God, and all of it is holy. So, as we celebrate the season of creation, let us get down on our hands and knees and marvel at what God has done, even at the humility of ground level. May God bless you all.